Okay. All right, so welcome to Algebra 1. Today is April 21st. A few class rules: be respectful of others, only use the annotation and chat feature when asked. If you have a question, raise your hand, do your best. A few tips: make sure to have a notebook or paper ready for notes. If possible, try to find some quiet space. Ask some questions in office hours. So if you weren't able to come to class, office hours is a great time for you to come on in and ask some questions. You don't have to stay the whole time. We have office hours from on Wednesday and Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. And again, that's just some time you can come in, even if it's for 5 minutes, just to ask your question and then leave. That is fine. But it's additional time where I can explain things in further detail. So make sure to come to office hours. So let's do a stress check. So if I'd like for you to comment anywhere on Schoology, or you can message me as well, whichever works. I'd like for you to let me know what level you're at. So if you're at a 0, you might be in a good space and you're able to focus. You might be at a 10 where you can't manage your emotions or behaviors at the moment. Or you might be somewhere in between where something is bothering you, but you can still focus. So just let me know what number you're on between a 0 and a 10. So the objectives for today, Tuesday, April 21st, are that we will review finding the slopes and y-intercepts of a line. This is a concept that we have already covered last week, so I just wanted to go ahead and review that because I did see that we were struggling a bit with either figuring out whether a slope needed to be positive or negative, and then what number is your rise, what number is your run. So that's just something I wanted to review a little bit in more detail today. So first, let's go ahead and review the do now for April 21st. And again, this has to do with the topics that we've covered, which are slope and are the y-intercept. So I'll go through these, but again, we're going to go through these in further detail. So let's look at number 1. What is the slope of the line? So when I'm looking at a slope, especially at a question like this, they don't give me points. So I have to go ahead and draw my own points on my line. So what I look at is, where does this line cross at exactly a little intersection on the grid? So for example, if I'm looking at this line, I can see that this is right at this intersection. You see at this little corner spaces. And then I go down the line and see where I find another corner. See those background lines? I look for another corner. That one looks like it's touching it, but it's not touching it exactly. So I would keep searching. Keep going, and it touches another one here. So based on that, and the fact that right away I see my slope going down from left to right. So remember our snowboarder example? Our snowboarder would be going down the hill. So that's going to be a negative slope. Right away, I know it's a negative slope. So I know that this cannot be my answer, and I know that this cannot be my answer. Now I'm going to find out, the reason I put the second line is to find out our rise over run. So for our rise, it means how many units does it go this way, as in vertically. So let's count from here. To get it to here, we needed to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 4 units. And that's our rise. And then for our run, that means how many, if we were taking steps, how many steps would it take? So how many units does it move from side to side? So horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 units. So our slope of this line is -4/5. So then I look at these two. You need to be very careful because if you notice both of them have 5, both of them have 4. But your rise, meaning how many units it went up or down, is a number at the top, and that was 4. So we need to make sure that we select the correct one, which is -4/5. So let's look at question number 2. What is the y-intercept of the line? So the y-intercept is where the line, so this blue line, crosses the y-axis. So this line that goes up and down, the horizontal one. So where does it cross? Right there at that intersection. What number is that? That is +4. So I would look at our options. We know that this isn't a 4 and that's not a 4, so it can't be those. Now, just be careful when selecting your answer that you choose the one that says +4, which is this one. As a reminder, these answers get shuffled around in your do now, so make sure you look for the right answer. All right, so let's look at this problem that we're going to work on. So Ms. Ventura purchased some shoes. The shipping fee via U.S. priority mail includes a $5 insurance fee and $3 per pound of the package. Find the rate of change and starting value to help calculate the shipping fees. So a question that we might ask is, why do we need to know slope and y-intercept? And well, slope can be referred to as the rate of change. The y-intercept can be referred to as the starting value. So when trying to figure out things like how much might I pay for shipping when I paid for these shoes, we might need to know our slope and y-intercept. It's just used in different terms for this problem. So now looking at this is a true story. I did purchase some shoes and they do happen to be exactly these shoes. But automatically the system does give me my shipping fee. But in this case, I did want to figure out, well, if I were to figure out our shipping fees, what would that look like? So we're going to review this problem at the end of the presentation once we have more information on slope and y-intercept. So we're going to practice finding the slope and the y-intercept for a graph. So based on the slope and y-intercept, let's look at question number 1. So remember, slope is the rate of change based on our problem given here. And then our y-intercept is the starting value. So our slope is written out as m is equal to, and then we're going to write our slope. M means slope. Okay, so we need to remember m means slope. So if we write the letter m, we mean slope. So slope, we right away figure out, is it a positive slope, a negative slope, 0, or undefined? Based on the fact that if I had a snowboarder and it was going down the hill, we know that it's going to be a negative slope. Now we count how many units is it going up or down? It's going up or down 3 units. How many units is it going left or right? It's going left or right 2 units. So that is my slope. Now when looking at the y-intercept, for the y-intercept we write b. So slope is m, y-intercept is b. So our y-intercept is where this line crosses the y-axis. So let's look at our y-axis and it crosses it right here. Notice that's at a middle point. It's not exactly on the lines. So we know that that's going to be a half value. So if I go down, that's going to be a negative half or negative 0.5. So you can do negative 1.5 or negative 0.5. Either answer is correct. Let's look at number 2. So our slope, which is represented as m, again is going to be negative because it's going down the hill. Then we count how many units is it going up or down. That's 4 units. How many units is it going left or right? That's 6 units. With this one, I actually want you to notice that on this line, if we go down this line, notice it hits an exact corner and intersection right here a little bit sooner. So our slope might actually be, if I use a different color for that, you go 1, 2, it goes down 2, and it goes to the right 3. So this is our simplified answer. And that's something I could cover as we go on more, but if we divide both of these by 2, it results in that. Our y-intercept for this graph, again, our y-intercept is listed as b. So if we go down and we find where it intersects, we're going to say it's about 1.5. So b is about 1.5, which can also be written as 1.5. Let's look at these. My slope is written out as the letter M. So remember, M is slope. Because my snowboarder would be going up the hill, we know that this is positive, so I don't need to put the negative symbol. Instead, I'll just put our line to show our rise and run. How many units does it go up or down? How many does it go left or right? I know that 3 divided by 1, remember that also can represent division, is 3. So I'm just going to write my slope as 3. And then my y-intercept is where does it cross the y-axis, which is right there. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's b is equal to negative 3. Again, my y-intercept represents b. Number 4. So again, our slope is my snowboarder is going down, so it's a negative slope. It goes down 1, 2, 3, 4 times. It goes this way twice. Again, had I could have chosen this point instead, and that would make it 2 over 1 or 2. And my y-intercept, we don't know it, because if it kept going, we would be able to figure it out. But for this one, we're not sure yet. Now, if you are watching this at home, go ahead and pause the video here so you can do a little bit of extra practice, and I'll go ahead and write the response or the answers down. Hopefully you got those answers. Look at this. We know that our slope here, don't forget that this means that our slope is 0. But the y-intercept, we still look at it based on the y-axis. I know that my slope is undefined. Looking back at the problem that says Ms. Ventura purchased some shoes, the shipping fee via U.S. priority mail includes a $5 insurance fee and $3 per pound of the package. Find the rate of change and starting value to help calculate the shipping fees. So what we do is that if we were to look at this, what changes? What's the rate of change? So something that is changing. In this case, something that changes is these $3. Because again, that's per pound. So the heavier the package is, the more I would pay. But something that no matter how big it is, no matter how small it is, I have to pay that $5 insurance fee. So that's my starting value. So my rate of change, or my slope, is $3. And my starting value, or my y-intercept in this case, is $5. These are just a few additional problems you can practice. If you are watching at home, go ahead and give these problems a try. And let me go ahead and just write the answers really quickly so you can pause the video and practice at home if you get a chance. And again, additional practice. Next step, so after class today, make sure to complete the do now if you haven't done so already. Make sure you complete the exit ticket for today. And then before the next class on Thursday, make sure you complete the do now for that class as well. If you have any questions, make sure to attend office hours on Wednesdays and Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m.